Hey everyone, welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from the Schoolbook. If you're looking at the bearded one, it must be 7 o'clock Central, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 out in Hawaii, 5 a.m. tomorrow out in Indonesia, and about 8 to 9 a.m. out in Australia. Welcome everybody to Stuff I Never Learned from the Schoolbook. If this is your first time watching the show, welcome. Again, my name is Tom Springer. I am the host of the show. And if you are, as you know, a repeat offender or part of the family, welcome back. I see a couple people are popping in, so that's good. I should probably jump into chat so I can see who's coming in. So I took a week off. I'm back. Hopefully everyone actually saw the write-up I did, and you're not lazy like a lot of you normally are. Yes, I'm calling you out. And just looked at the pretty picture and said, oh, we have a show on coming up on Monday. So there was no real reason why I took that extra week off outside of the fact that I am starting to cut back a little bit on how often I do the show. There's going to be groups of times when I'm actually doing it every week, but there's also going to be groups of times where I'm doing it every other week. Just trying to get some stuff planned out for the summer and everything else. So I will let you know when the shows happen, and I will try to remind you when they're not going to happen so people aren't trying to jump on and there's nothing actually going on. Anyways, I want to say hi to a couple of people first. Hello, Miss Uilani Ku'ule. How are you? Stuart, good to see you, brother. Nice to have you on here. Hello, Sylvie. How are you? I do have on a special guest tonight. And so we kind of found each other. I actually found her through just simply because she was friends of friends on Facebook. Sometimes you just have those Facebook friends that are recommended. And I went ahead and found her, and then I started reading about her, and everyone knows. Now, she's backstage, so she can hear me right now, but that's okay. But everyone knows that's part of the family that I Facebook stalk fantastically. And this is how I found out who Kristin was and all about her. Because I went to her sites, I went to her pages, I went to everything else, and I found her, and I was very much drawn to her. And I'm like, okay, I have to ask Kristin to come on the show. So, with all that said, everyone should see that right up there in that very, very far corner right here. I actually do have the parental advisory because we never know what's going to come out of our mouths, especially with she and I together. But everyone say hello to Miss Kristin Roberts. Let's bring her on. Hi, Kristin. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good. So a couple of the people popping in to say hi. But yep, so that's kind of how this is going to run. Everyone will kind of say hi. If we're talking and people are popping in, I will just either wave at them or keep on going. But when it looks like Sandra Newbeging is coming in to say hi to you.
Hello.
Hopefully I said that right.
Yep.
Uilani Ku'ule, that's the name I get to love to say all the time, watching us from Hawaii. And then my wife, Nicole, is actually saying hello as well. Chris is saying hi. So all these people are going to come in and they're going to say hi to us. It's fantastic. I love the fact that so many people are coming in to watch. But
Nice.
as that's happening, I kind of explained how you and I ran into each other, really how I found you, and then just basically hunted you down and said, come to my show. And people laugh at me when I say I hunted you down because they know what I used to do for a living. Those who don't know what I used to do for a living are like, what is that guy talking about? And I'll just leave that as a mystery for them so that way they're just going to, try to figure it out. But do me a favor. Now that I have you on the show, we've talked a little bit beforehand. I kind of gave you a rundown of what's about to happen, but it doesn't do it any justice until we do it.
Okay.
So introduce to everybody who you are, what you do, and how you came about doing it.
Okay. All right, you ready?
Let's go.
Okay, let's go. I just wanted to say thank you also for inviting me. It's like I also felt the connection spiritually among you and I.
Yeah.
And I love it that you have hooked up a lot of paranormal sites with us. And I also like that, my friend Dale Quigley,
Oh,
from the Paranormal Voice. Yeah, he's something else. I love what you guys do. You are the backbone of everything and everyone that you do on your shows.
I
I
appreciate
just want to say thank you for that.
it. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. As far as me, I've been doing this almost 30 years. So I have so much to offer, but a small, brief bio was sent. And I hope people have a chance to read it before the show. But if not, you can connect with it.
Yep.
But I'm a psychic medium.
Speaking of connecting.
Yeah, I am a remote viewer and medical viewer of people, paranormal investigator, quantum hypnosis level 2 practitioner, a regressionist with that, and to heal the mind and the body of the people that connect with me. And I work with a lot of people that have PTSD and traumas. Uh, and I've been doing it for a couple of years, so I definitely have a lot of people underneath my belt. Life coach, and a mother, a grandmother, and I'm also writing a book in the mix of everything. And I love that. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute.
Sure.
But I know that when I work spiritually, when I do galleries or if I'm doing um, home paranormal parties, which I do a lot of right now, and I connect with spirit pretty quick, and I enjoy that. I am a physical medium, which is different than a mental medium, and that takes on a whole new world, right? And I've been practicing that for a long time, and I started that out years ago. I kind of tripped into it with a group that I spent years with, 4 days a week, studying my craft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of we all have this. There's more to me than what meets the eye. I can't put my finger on it. Besides, I did some crazy stuff when I was younger. I could see things. It's just stuff that you know, come across in your life growing up. And I know that my family, my grandmother, I get that from her.
Okay.
So it's ties in. It's not too heavy. I think I worked my ass off. I'll be honest. Uh, and my power, my knowledge, my understanding of how everything is intertwined, and I just really, really want to help humanity. And that's why I always take it up another level, another level. And, you're never too old to learn new things.
Right.
But I've been doing it, and I take everything I do serious. And I'm located in northern Michigan, and my office is here. Um, this is where I do the quantum down in here. And then I also have an office that I do my meetings, my workshops, and other things there. I do like it. But I guess that's a good start.
So what actually brought you into your field? When did you start deciding that this is something that I'm going to want to start pursuing?
Um, I know that I didn't have no choice. I think that I think that being the youngest of five and not being heard, and you just do things, right? And it's like intuitively you would pick up things, and then it's like I don't understand this. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I needed a mentor, right? I
Yeah.
need some understanding. I was too young to like get into it. The older people didn't understand it. So when I finally got to a certain age, I started, which is normally typically around 30, because I had to raise my kids and stuff like that, right? So now it was my time.
Right.
And so I dived in. I started going to psychic fairs, meeting some amazing, mediums and different things. I'm like, oh, so it's just a pull. It's a
Yeah.
natural pull I had in different directions. And then I was just hungry. I
Yeah.
was hungry for knowledge,
Yeah.
and boom. And then I was like, okay, that whole door opened up, and in comes so much information. And I was on a massive overload of joy. Just everything was clicking,
Yeah.
and I was understanding. And I'm like, hoo, I found my people. you know, so and it just gets better and better and better.
Yeah.
It does. It does. If you're doing the right thing, and it's like, and you're diving deep and you're strong in what you're doing, and you're doing it right, and you're studying and you're understanding and know the boundaries. There's boundaries.
Yeah. There are. Yep. Yeah. So, and my audience will tell you, just as I'm about to tell you right now, because my audience knows this, I am self-proclaimed lazy. And that's that's what my issue is that I just am, and I know I am. And I don't, but I don't. I guess all of my stuff is kind of readily available when I need it, but it's not always turned on. But like when I need it, it's there. And so I don't meditate. I don't do too much studying, but it seems like I have a lot of the knowledge, and it's really weird. And the only way I can explain it from some people is because they told me I've done it for so many different lifetimes. Now it's just second nature. So now it's just like, well, you've already done it. You already have all the knowledge of it. Now it's just coming back to you at a rapid pace because
Hmm.
you've only been doing this for 3 years. So it's just like I always say, it's like drinking from a fire hose. It's just
Yeah.
flooding back in. So
Yeah.
um, I guess I am self-proclaimed lazy, but I think it's because I haven't come across something yet where I've had to force myself to study yet.
Yeah.
So
Um, I think that with you, you're like an oversoul, and it's like I have met many like you, and it's like what happens is there's certain timelines and triggers that warrant things to surface,
right.
right? And you have a certain contract,
Oh
that
yeah.
you had written before you came in this lifetime,
Yep.
and it's like, okay, so now I'm going to go ahead with that lifetime and I'm going to make it at this age because I got all the stuff I got to do now.
Right.
So there's timelines that happen in, and it's like, and the knowledge, um, when you just get to be an older soul, and it's just like it just comes naturally.
Yeah.
And I think the meditation does help,
Yeah.
as needed, and it does help you retain your own health in your body, your mind, your body, your spirit, just kind of connects at a deeper level. And
So I
for
should
me, it does.
so I
It does.
I should caveat that. That's not a fair statement for me to say. I don't set aside time to meditate, but there is
Yeah.
definitely times when I'm in my vehicle and I'm like, I swore I just left my driveway. Why am I already at work and I don't remember the drive? So
Because you're in a trance state.
right. So like I said, it's not fair to say I don't meditate, but I don't plan meditation. It just happens. So
Hmm. It does happen one way or another. It's
yeah,
like, and that's why people, grounding, right? I ground. I'm a Greenwich. I like being out in Mother Earth. I
yeah,
like being in the elements. I
me
like
too.
being, and then it's like, that's my Zen.
Yeah,
That's my chi, right? So some people just, they're hardwired differently.
yeah,
Their brain is hardwired and they just can't tap it, you
yeah.
know? So I get that.
Yeah, I never wear shoes. If I can avoid wearing shoes, I never wear shoes because my feet always have to be touching the ground. And it doesn't matter. People laugh at me here because I'm in Nebraska and I'm walking around barefoot out in the snow, and they're like, "You're an idiot." I'm like, "No, I'm just comfortable. So leave me alone."
Yeah.
And that's just how I am. And I know a lot of mine ties because of my Norse background as well as my Native American background
Yeah.
coming together, and that's really is my outside is where I belong. You know,
Hmm.
that's definitely me. So
What native background do you have?
So I actually have four. Hi, Joe. I have Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, and Cheyenne. So I have four
Oh,
different types.
okay.
And so yes,
All right. Interesting. All
yeah,
right. Nice.
it's a weird hybrid. But then I'm also Icelandic North on top of it. So I'm kind of definitely a hybrid. Yeah. But it's funny is if all this was gone and I wasn't so fat, you'd actually see my really high cheekbones from my other side. So yeah,
That's funny.
pretty interesting.
Okay. Well, I know that, it's like today is like I wanted to talk about some different things and then we'll just kind of go off in a little bit, but I know that, as far as some of the things I do, um like remote viewing. And I do enjoy the remote viewing a lot, and it does help out the paranormal community. As of late, I do have them calling me. We'll do it this way or on the phone call. And I started out in the teachings of it's still available. It's called targetmonkey.com.
Okay.
Everybody can remote view.
Okay.
Everybody.
Yes.
And it's like, so I find it essential because I do like tapping into that a lot, especially if I'm going into a volatile, hostile, environment.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm asked to go somewhere, and then, usually just give me the house numbers,
Yep, that's
and
what I
I
do.
used to start out like longitude and latitude,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband and I pulled up this app one time, and where am I? He would throw me the longitude and latitude. I started doing that.
Yeah.
But I think it's very useful tool,
Yep.
and I only do it as only approval because I don't want to jump into your house. I don't want to jump in where you're at.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yep.
but it has helped with investigations. I've also helped with murder investigations. It does a plethora of, like, to be able to view everything within itself.
Right.
And my husband had this one time when he sent me the longitude and latitude, and I was picking up the North Pole, and then I started writing down the numbers, right? So he gave me a number, write it down, then I would write the picture as I'm seeing the number.
Right.
So then I'm like, okay, so I picture, I'm writing all this down, and then I write what I seen. And then it's like, well, I'm seeing the opening within the North Pole and like a cave. And I was like, oh, that thing's a whole nother world within the world.
Mm.
And I talked about the civilization that was and the animals and everything around it. And my husband then, because he's pretty cool at what he does, he's with me. God help him. So, and I just like aviation, man discovery. I was picking up a lot of different things. But
Yeah.
then he sends me that night, as we're watching TV, it comes up under the Admiral Byrd and the whole story behind it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, excellent. He knows I like validation. I
Yep.
got to have my validation, but it's interesting that it does pick up like that.
Yeah.
And then when you remote view, I think maybe it's the different senses that I have, that when I go into space, I see different planets, different things, right? So I kind of know where I came from,
Right.
right? So I'm like, okay, but just opening up different possibilities. And then we talked about, I think that's one of my favorites still, though, being the physical part of it. I didn't like that too well, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Being the physical medium, when I practice it,
Well, do me a favor before
go
you go
ahead.
into that. Before you go into that,
Yeah.
explain to the audience, because not everybody knows what the differences is between a physical and a mental medium.
Okay.
So explain
The,
first what it is before you go into it, so they go, "Oh, okay." So
all right. Well, the mental medium, I would say, is a lot about the newbies. A lot of people vision it within the pineal gland, right? The visions, everything, it's just right here. It's in
Mhm.
their mind's eye, right? They mentally see things with everything that they're viewing. And the physical part of it is when I actually allow spirit to come in. And within me, like when I'm doing like seances and stuff like that, which, then I start talking through my voice,
Mhm.
my box shifts to the spirit's voice, right? So then I'm like, all right. And then I'm able to retrieve, it's like I feel like I'm like back. Like I know I'm here, but someone's just kind of taken over my body.
Right.
And I didn't like losing control.
Yeah.
It freaked me out the first couple times. And then it's like, okay, I learned a lot from the best growing up. And right now it's like, I feel disappointed. I had a friend, his name is John Lelick, and he was also a physical medium, and he taught me how to use the trumpets, right?
Mhm.
The trumpets, he made these badass trumpets, right? They're just like up long. And that was awesome. And I got to know him very well, had a fantastic time with that man. And another lady, her name was Betty. And it just seems like so many incredible mediums are no longer here.
Yeah.
And it's like, because it takes a toll
Yeah.
health wise, right? And so anyway, but in the beginning of my like paranormal investigations with different teams, and all of a sudden it's like they would just rush in, and I'm like, oh, so take my breath away. I'm like, oh, nay, this is not happening, right? Oh, hell no. And I said, I got to get better at protection. And they were just like, yeah, you better, because all of a sudden I'm just like, ooh, like I was a drunken sailor. It's like shit. It's like I can't be doing that no more. Because a lot of different investigations have stairs and
Yeah.
flights and darkness, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So I got on the protection and bandwagon, and Sarah, did a lot of sessions talking to people about that
Yeah.
in my lifetime. Okay, let me see.
Well,
Now,
you
go
have
ahead.
you have a question that's come up from Stuart.
Sure.
So Stuart would like to know: has Kristin ever had an alien take over the medium session?
I have met aliens in this lifetime. I have met them shopping. I'm telling you, I know them. See, when I've done them, geez, I've seen them in the store, and I feel like I would say I was abducted in my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I'm going to put that out there sexually. All right. And it was like, that was awful. But I know it was a real thing.
Right.
I have had hypnosis done, and I go back and I keep on landing in alien ships,
Mm-hmm.
and I keep on, talking to aliens, clients that come here that have been abductees. I do the quantum on them. And yeah, I've been confronted seriously face to face, and I think that maybe the aliens to me kind of like shapeshifters,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, yeah, you know what? Hell to the double no. It's like sometimes I just like wrong place, wrong station,
Yeah.
especially if I'm picking up stuff around their body that's indicating the aura that it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like, I have been in a lot of events, serious, big events, in Sault Ste. Marie. And I have met some amazing investigators that have tapped in some stuff,
Yeah.
right? And they've been places they shouldn't have been. And, and they would just be coming towards me, and I'm like, hey, just a minute. You got, just stand right there.
Yeah.
You got some stuff floating in and out of you that's black. And I said, I know your TV shows and what you've done. And I just like, you need a cleansing, and I'm not doing it today. It's like no. But aliens come in all shapes and sizes. The grays um, are usually the normal for people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different types that I have came across in my visions, or um, that have come to me, when I'm into my meditations, or if I'm into working with someone on their case, right, of alien, and then I actually can see who they were in their skin.
Hmm.
It's no different, like when I have come across in the last couple of years, the spiritual warriors, right? And that's another story that I wrote down. So I'm able to foresee 3D, 4D, 5D, like more dimensional, right? So it opens up different things for me. I just don't see it in 3D
Right.
like most normal people do.
Yeah. So you're going more towards the new human, new world type of step forward. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I know. I
So
know about that.
that's okay. I just see everything. I mean,
Yep.
when I remote view, I'm medically remote view. And so if someone tells me, if I'm sitting across from them, hey, can you tell me what's wrong with my body? Do you see anything? And I'll, start scanning the body, go through it. And then it's like, oh, okay. you got osteo. I see a lot of bone. I get bone in its pockets. It's osteo. Um, oh, okay. I check out the heart, and then I can see the traumas within the heart, the scarring, the organs, the things that are impacting them today, their health, or old surgeries I bring up, or if they've had miscarriages.
Hmm.
And I haven't been wrong on that.
Yeah.
And but spirit will show me usually a grandmother on the other side, grandfather are holding them, and they show me the color of the blanket. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so. But it is. I mean, it just opens up a whole different level. So that's part of it, and then I think the quantum that I level 2 practitioner now. It's taken a couple years of. I have met some amazing past lives, though. I will tell you that. From God, just amazing things like shamans. I have met witches. I have many, many witches. I have dealt with, which is different. Oh gosh, I have met Dolores Cannon in spirit. That was something else when I was getting my hypnosis done in the beginning, and I just seen so many different ones. I'm not going to go too much,
Yeah.
but a lot of them are meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the terrestrials, right, the aliens,
Hmm.
and them being an alien in a past life, and that's why they're so connected, or physically what's happening to their body now.
Right.
Everything on the left side is past life injury,
Oh,
karma. On the right side is what you're currently inflicting on your body.
very interesting. Because all of my damage, well, most of my damage, um, both times being shot, all the other stuff is all on my left side.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I mean that's usually a sign of birthmarks too.
okay.
Like when you've been shot
Hmm.
or splatters of birthmarks. I have a birthmark, and my son's got the identical one on the other side. And then I had this medium say to me, she picked up, oh, you got shot in the Civil War when you were pregnant, right in
Oh,
your stomach.
hmm.
So she didn't know any different, but I'm like, okay, all right. So that's just amazing. But the quantum does bring out a lot of healing in regression. And if I could get together more people that would like to do more on the terrestrial side of things, that would be great. I would love to see that happen. Um, Let me
So
see.
we
Go
did
ahead.
two people back to back. Um, One said, "Oh wow, Dolores Cannon would be an awesome one," and someone asked, "Can you share more on the Dolores Cannon?
Can I do what on Dolores
Can you
Cannon?
share more?"
Share more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll go to Dolores. All right. Well, when I had that with Dolores Cannon, and I'm like, at first when I was doing it and going under the hypnosis, and she popped in, I'm like, who the heck are you? I didn't know who she was when I was like under the hypnosis. And she just said, it is time. And I'm just like, who are you? I didn't even know who she was.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay. So then she showed me like she was sitting underneath a small light, and she was an older woman. And she just had people laying next to her. I couldn't figure out. There was a lot of like visions of what she wanted to show me. And I'm like, okay. Then she showed me the universe, and she was like showing me there was more to it than what you think. Because I'm always connected within the universe. And Dolores liked in her later years working with UFOs, right? So I think that's why between my connection and understanding of meeting her, I'm like, okay. And then the next day, my husband says, hey, there's TikTok. Want to try it out? Sure. And guess who pops up? Dolores Cannon.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh shit. Okay, there's my validation.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Then it just connected
Yeah.
and connected and connected. I'm like, you know what? I'm always, I've spent 20 plus years helping people, right? And these 20-minute, hour readings are not getting it
Right.
because of the change of times, right? Everything's so convoluted.
Yeah.
So I went with it. And now I can spend 5 hours with people one on one.
Nice.
And I love it. And they love it. And it's healing work. And, this gentleman came to me. He was a shaman, been through a lot of stuff. And he had cancer. And it's like, I'm going to try. I'll help you out as best I can, right? But I will at least give you a bump. So I'm a little bit different because most hypnotists are not psychic mediums or doing what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually helping them as we go through the session with the healing. And his was intense healing. And with him being a shaman and me connecting, we were actually, I wish I would have had a video camera on that. That was an amazing session. And then a year later, I see him at Sault Ste. Marie at another event at the Michigan Paracon. And he comes up to me, Kristin. And I didn't know who the hell he was. He changed. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, we did it.
Yeah.
I'm like, we did what? He's like, I'm cured. I don't have any more cancer.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Beautiful.
So sometimes humans need a little kickstart.
Right.
And that's what this is about, in order to realign yourself, your path, the way you're thinking, the way that you're looking at life.
Yep.
And, it's like the only ones that can't get hypnotized are the ones that have had like brain injury or if they're deaf, because they have to be able to listen to me. So yeah.
So I am very reluctant, simply because of my past military and because I still work for the military.
Well, if you've had a traumatic brain injury,
Yeah. No,
right?
but it's still there.
I mean, only because the fact that when the healing process begins, or the cognitive, or reaching to the higher self, getting to the symbolistic state of mind that I work with a client, and it's like it takes. You can tell when they hit it, and they're there. It's kind of like you're walking through. Like if you had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, right? And all of a sudden you're just closing your eyes and you're just walking and going through and coming back. So you're just in a state of a dream state. You never lose total control, which is good.
Yeah.
I like that. And I've had people in their past lives, it's like if I know they have a history of working with art, drawing, I will give them a pad and paper.
Oh, yeah.
As they're drawing. But I also, when they come off and they're walking in their life, and I could see I'm walking with them. That's the trippy part. So
Yeah.
I'm able to walk through and I see their town, I see the era, and that's what's cool. I can go back to wherever they came from with them, and I'm looking at the cobblestone, or I'm looking at the lanterns that are being lit in the street, and I'm seeing what the vision of what they're wearing, they're describing it. So, and that goes into their death, and then I take them over into the spirit world, and then they can see people that they want to connect with spiritually, which is small window of opportunity. And then we go into the subconscious, and then I connect with the subconscious, and we start asking the heavy questions. And the session is recorded for them, except the hypnosis part.
Right.
And they get to listen to the whole thing, even the subconscious, which no one ever remembers of talking. Yeah. Right. So that's the healing part. And that's where you get your answers of your trauma, all the stuff that's happened to you. Anything. What is the purpose of your life?
Right.
So that helps. And I don't know.
I
You
do.
know, I go ahead.
I do have a question for you. Well,
Sure.
Zhang has a question for you. So Zhang is one of the people that we've been following, that's been watching my show for basically since I started. She's over in Indonesia, um, and so she has a question specific to you, and I know why, but I want you to answer it. She's asking Kristin, how do you protect yourself from being easily possessed by spirits at normal times, not during seance? And
Mm-hmm.
what should I do to protect myself? Is there any practice?
Of course there's a lot of things here. Okay. As far as when I'm to the point where, okay, yeah, I have juju in my bra. I have my stones and protection,
Yeah.
right? But I also have my guides. I have my angels. I have my backup plan. Um, it's like a snap of my finger during times. It's like, nope, shield.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a camera lens when you open and shut it, right?
Right.
When I know I'm in a situation I'm uncomfortable with. So the first thing is when I know something's coming my way, I will protect my gut,
Mm-hmm.
right? My core. And I just put my hands over my stomach because I know, and that's protecting my heart chakra, my heart. And then I'm like, okay. And if they get too close, I just back up. And it's like, put my hand out. You're in my space, what's up?
Yeah.
And but and that's normal life, right? That's just normal doing whatever.
Right.
If I'm going in my vehicle, I bless my vehicle, I cleanse my vehicle. Um, when I go on investigations, I again have in investigations, of course, remote view. And then secondly, I go in and then I'm like, okay, I set my intentions. I say my prayers before I go in about what is going to happen, what's not going to happen when I approach the threshold.
Right.
So I already have in my mind, this is what's going to happen. But as many people come in under the paranormal or whatever, they just go into the house willy nilly,
Yeah.
whatever, and they don't care.
Right.
And but I guess it's because I I set the stage to protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when I know what's on the other side of the wall, and I'm going to be super super receptive of because I'm just going to open up
Yeah.
because that's what I do. I just open up. But protection is going to be your crystals. It's going to be your holy water. It could be, that's blessed by a priest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also ordained. I forgot to tell you. There's lots of things. And you can create any type of symbolism of your protection, right? Your crosses, you can wear a cross, whatever works for you. Um, and, I believe that, in ancestry, right? I have my father, my uncle on the other side, both Navy men.
Yeah.
So I call upon my ancestors and have them walk in first, clear the room, clear of all negative energy before I walk in.
Yeah.
So I just give them a few minutes, visualize my dad, my uncle. They're going in with their can of whoop ass. They
Yeah.
go in there
Yeah.
and they do their thing. I see them coming back out, and I'm like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
good to go. And then I go ahead and they give me a thumbs up and I start what I do.
Yeah.
And all this is going on, and I'm just like sitting in peace for a few minutes, just by myself before I enter into anything. And I just ask for protection. I always say, guardian angels up above, down below, and in between. Please protect me in this house or my car, my travels, so I get home safely. And
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to bring home anything
Right.
because I have in the past.
Yeah.
And which brings me to the Jewett investigation I did. That was actually pretty cool. That one I enjoyed because that one involved a little boy named Michael. And to his demise, he ended up dying, falling down the steps of the house. And well, back then it was a house that turned into a funeral home,
Yeah.
and then a morgue at the bottom. But that place was amazing. And let me talk about Michael. Michael, I got so emotional back then. I was so emotional. I was just like boo-hooing a little bit because Michael made my heart bleed, right? As a mama, right? And but as a medium, he was just of light, and I asked him he wanted me to pass him over that night, and he just said, "Nah, I'm not ready yet. I got some stuff to do tonight." And I'm like, "Okay." So we get to the basement part, and our group of investigators, and we're in this dirt room. Ugh, it was just bad. Um, and then I felt Michael come up, and I'm like, "Okay." And the EVPs were going off, their our equipment and stuff. And next thing you know, I'm like, Michael says to me, "Look down." And I said, okay. I said, everybody look down. And I said, please shine the camera down there. And then this cross comes up from the earth, just
Mm.
like, and then plop down. And I'm like, oh. So the lead investigator picked it up, and he's like, what the heck? And that's part of a physical medium. Physical mediums can materialize things with spirit. And I said, well, thank you, Michael. And I said, well, that's pretty nice. Are you ready to go to heaven? And he says, look down. And I'm like, okay, everybody. Michael says, look down again. And everybody looked down, and there was copper pennies at their feet.
Uh,
And I said, oh, pennies from heaven. And he just like, it just a very cool case. I really enjoyed him. I enjoyed the people, the experience. And then he came home with me, which was a no-no. And yeah, he was in the back seat, and I told Tom, this is not good. What are we going to do? This is not good. And he's like, well, tell him to go back. And I'm
yeah,
like, all right. I said, you know what? Let me think about this for a minute. And I said, Michael, just chill out in the car for a minute, And I said, or just stay there. It's like, I don't know what I want to do with you yet. Just, you can't come in my house, but you can walk the land. And so I'm in the backyard with Tom, my husband, and he's starting a bonfire. And next thing you know, my Jeep in the driveway is going with the headlights, bloop, 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 bloop. Just like, oh no.
yeah,
So I went in and I talked to him, and I said, I'm going to pass you over. I gotta pass you over,
yeah.
and which I did. So that was just heartbreaking because he was such a beautiful boy. And I've met so many young people that I actually had to have a young guide. I had 9 guides at one time.
Wow.
9. Yeah. Just because I've met such a collective amount of people.
Right.
Okay. Did I answer her question okay?
Yeah, she said that, and Zhang. So I can tell her because you've given her answer, and like I said, I kind of knew what she was going to lean towards. But Zhang, yours is your rosary. She has a
Yes.
rosary that she uses a lot. So Zhang, yours is your rosary. Um,
But the rosary also has her energy on it. She
correct.
should actually have that blessed and cleansed with holy water.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, because the natural oils of the body get absorbed within the object that you wear.
Right.
So that's good that she have it cleansed once in a while.
Yep. Um, I'm trying to read because I got couple of people responding their own stuff, so I'm kind of thrown off. Because like
Okay.
at first, way back when you were talking about left side is past, right side is current, and
Yes.
my wife responded with, "That's interesting because all of her injuries, her cancer, etc., is all on her right side." Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then Sandra responded to that too, but then Sandra followed up with, "Hers is all on her left side."
Yeah.
And then Nikki, my wife, responded to her own saying, "So you are like my husband, Tom." Okay, I got it.
Yep.
So she's saying that Sandra's like me; all the injuries are on the left side. And she's saying that's the first time she's heard of the injuries having a side attached to them.
Yes.
So that's okay.
Yep.
I'm all cut
I,
up. I read it out loud to figure out what they were saying, but I'm all cut up now. So
well, I believe that like the inner part, right? Your inner sides, like anything that's inflicted, and it's like that has a lot to do. with a combination of how you are taking care of your health as a human being, your vehicle, right? So your soul in a human vehicle. So if you're not taking care of your body, your endocrine systems, your filtering systems, how you eat and all that play out.
Right.
And it's your choices, right?
Yep.
Of what you're putting in your body. You know, if you're just sitting on doing nothing, or if you've had some laid back on mental illness, and it's like, so a lot of that impacts on some of it with DNA. I'm a true believer of how your ancestries lay out your pattern of your life, like
Yep.
your parents, your grandparents, and how some things follow.
Right.
I call it a curse, and I try to break that by living better, eating better. Oh, there you go. You're drinking. Good job.
Oh, I have to. It's so dry here. I've been pounding water like it's crazy. So yeah.
Well, I think that it's important that we take care of ourselves as best possible. I
Yeah.
don't care if you're walking every day, listening to positive affirmations, going for swims, going for walks, enjoying the fresh air,
Yeah.
being creative, start getting the right side of your brain more creative. If you're if you're all about stuck about things in your past, and it's like a lot of people have trauma in their past that they're just addicted to. So the brain cycles and cycles over that past trauma.
Right.
So because it's an easy way, I mean, that you're conditioned to.
Yeah.
But we always try to break free of that and try to learn something new, engage into life, and
Explain to people when they get stuck in that pattern in their head, that
yes,
that is what allows excuses to come into play.
all day long.
That's your excuse side.
Yep.
So yes, that's exactly what I say to that too. I'm like, oh, well, this happened. Well, yeah, that's your excuses. That was
Yeah.
then. Now you're here. What are you gonna
Yeah.
do to go there?
Yeah.
So yeah, I do that
Well,
same thing with people that I work that I know. I'm always like, well, that's your excuse side. So
yeah.
that. So
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's all about learning lessons. Like, those triggers that pop up like old scabs, right? That keep
yep,
on resurfacing and resurfacing. It's like, it's time to handle that shit.
yeah,
So then you go back and either you get psychological help, therapy, whatever it takes to go back
hmm
and revisit it with a healthy mind now. Because back then, it wasn't so of a healthy situation for you. So then you're like, okay, let me kind of tap into some new tools
hmm
that I could work with now to replace the triggers with something more positive or a different take, a different outlook, a
right.
different view. So it's important for people um, to really know what they're doing, staying present in their life,
And that's more
focusing on the present.
and that's more along the lines also of a quantum healing method, is to try to adjust what happened to the and not really adjust what happened in the past, but how to look at it now and how to move
Yes,
forward with it. So
yes,
it's also another form of quantum healing that you try to take and readjust
yes.
from that point. So
Yeah,
okay,
it's adjusting the brain.
yep,
It's adjusting a different outlook, a different view, a different perception, and then kicking in to your higher self
hmm
and hearing the affirmations. Oh yeah, this is what she's doing. She's just, you know what? She's just lazy. I mean, I hear all kinds of stuff coming out of their mouth, and
yep,
it was like, yeah, well, you heard it from your own self. You
right,
know what you need to do,
yeah,
and I think we know in our heart what the right thing to do is, right? If you just listen to yourself,
yep,
it's like if you just journal, have patience with yourself, find out the root cause, move on.
yeah,
And I think that's the best thing.
yeah.
Let me see. I wrote down like 10 pages, so I'm trying to keep up with what I wrote down today because I get going
Yeah.
clearly.
Well, I try to explain to people too, and this is newer to me, but this is something that I'm trying to deal with, and I'm trying to help others out with. Because
Okay.
I'm hearing a lot of "that's too hard," so I'm not going to do it. And I started saying, "That's too hard," so I'm going to continue to do it until it's easy.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't want to make that shift. They just want to say it's too hard, so I don't want to do it or deal with it. And I'm like, well, suck it up, Buttercup, because otherwise it's always going to stay hard.
That sounds like Andrea Perrin to me.
And it's funny because she and I had a discussion too, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's like you're my brother already." So
Yeah.
it was hilarious how we had that discussion.
Yeah.
And that's exactly who. That's exactly. It's kind of because I told her that with everything she's going through now, and I sent her a message. And I said, just remember, if it wasn't hard, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh, thanks for that. So, you're welcome. So,
Yeah, I met Andrea years ago
yeah,
at the events that I do here in Michigan and Sault Ste. Marie, and we just connected. We shared a back to back room here in Holton Lake, where there was another event. There's like the UFO con, and uh, I have met a plethora of amazing people, and Travel Channel, Discovery Channel. They all go to these events at Michigan Paracon. When I met Andrea, it's like we were disconnected. It's like
yeah,
she's an amazing person. She is going through some stuff, health wise right now, and just maybe send some heart, some
yeah,
love her way,
yeah, yeah. And
And go
it was,
ahead.
it was funny because yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I got the pop up saying a year ago Andrea was on my show.
I
So
seen that.
and I sent that to her, and she was like, "That's already been a year." I go, right. It doesn't even feel like it's been like a couple of months. And
Yeah.
it was fantastic because she asked if she can call me before she came on my show, and I'm like, absolutely, you can call me. I don't care. And I pick up the phone, and I see the number pop up, so I know it's her because she gave me her number, saying, "Hey, this is my number." So I picked it up. I'm like, "Hello," and she's like, "Oh my God, it's like we're related already." It was so funny.
She when you meet her in person,
Yeah.
it's just unbelievable. She's
Well,
amazing, and I've seen her time and time and time again. And we're always kissing on each other. I'm like, we're gonna catch something one of these days. So it's like, but she's a wonderful person,
yeah.
book writer, uh, been through a life with The Conjuring. She's pretty
That's
cool.
that's one thing she was really appreciative of. And when on our phone call, she's like, "What do you want me to talk about?" And I go, "Whatever you want to talk about." And she goes,
Hmm.
"Shut the fuck up." Literally what she said. And I was like, "Wait a second, what are we doing here?" And she's like, "You don't want me to talk about The Conjuring?" I go, "If you want to talk about The Conjuring, you can." She goes,
Hmm.
"Can I talk about my alien stuff?" I'm like, "You can talk about whatever you want. It's your show." And she goes, "That's where we're going." And she goes,
Yep.
"Everyone wants me to talk about the same thing. No one lets me talk about what I want to talk about." I'm like, "It's your show. I can get what you talk about." And
Yeah.
it was hilarious just talking to her on the phone. And then she came on the show, and the show normally runs hour, hour and a half. I think we went like 2.5 hours. I think it's like the longest show I did,
That doesn't surprise me with her.
and
That
it was
doesn't.
hilarious.
I tried recording her at one event and it just kept on going on, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's amazing. And I know, we're out there at Holton Lake at the Lakeside Resort there. And she's out there bringing in the aliens. Ah, and it's like, I had Dale and I had John there and all these people,
yeah.
looking up at the sky, just calling them in. And I said, "You see that?
That's
There
what
they
she said.
are. There
Yeah,
they are."
yeah, that's what she was saying. She
It was
said,
it's always amazing when
yeah.
you do stuff with these people. I don't know who's more crazier, me or them.
All right.
It's
So
like,
Nikki says, and this was funny too. Nikki says, "I love Andrea, love her heart and soul." Funny because I thought of her earlier in the show because Kristin talked about not knowing Dolores Cannon when you were said, "I don't know who," when she popped up, you're like, "I don't know who you are," because I did not know who Andrea was. I never. So I was talking to Aaron Bush. You know who Aaron is? Aaron is Andrea's handler, and Aaron's like, "Hey, do you want me to have Andrea come on your show?" And I'm like, "Who?" And she's like, "Andrea Perrin." I'm like, "Sure, but I don't know who that is." And she's like, "You don't know who this person is?" I'm like, "No, I have no idea." And she goes, "Have you ever watched The Conjuring?" And I go, "No." And
Oh,
she's like, "Oh, well, she's a real life little girl." So purposefully, I never researched Andrea at all, even before the phone call. And then she made the phone call, and I go, "I'm going to be totally honest with you. I have no idea who you are." And she was like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "That is I thought she was going to be offended. She's like, "That is fantastic." She's like, "There's no preconceived conceptions of who I am or what to expect of me or anything else." She goes, "This is going to be wonderful." And it was so funny because like she was shocked that someone hadn't heard of her, but yet it was
yeah,
so refreshing to her because that's why I'm like, you can just talk to any. I don't care what you talk about, and she was
yeah,
right on to that. So
yeah. I know she's a remarkable person. It's like, we sat there one time out and just like I pulled up two lawn chairs and I just like, and she was so distraught on the travel to
yeah,
get there. And we just sat there in the lawn chairs, taking in the sun. And I said, Andrea, I ain't saying shit to you. You ain't saying nothing to me. And we're just going to sit here for a minute. And she did. And I thought, wow, overdue. But it's like, I can, it's like, it's just when you're working with a paranormal community, you just, and whatever we're doing, we take care of each other
yeah,
spiritually.
yep.
When you start connecting with layers of people throughout the decade I did the Michigan Paracon, I mean, I have met Brad Blair puts that on, or did. Last year was the last year, unfortunately.
Mm.
That was like 10 floors of, or excuse me, not 10, 3 floors for 10 years of going back and forth. We have a cabin in Brimley, Michigan.
Mm.
So it's like, you know, Ozzy Osbourne's son Jack was there,
Yep.
right? And it's like, I had seen so many people. Let me see where my list is. I don't know if I want to give them a shout out or not. Let me see. Only because the fact that, I was with, let me see. I know, I couldn't believe I had stopped. Oh, here we go. Um, yep, okay. Angie Perrin was there.
There you go.
Ronnie LeBlanc in
Oh yeah.
Monsterland,
Mhm.
right? Ronnie was my neighbor for the weekend. Awesome. Then he turned around. I had another event. He was my neighbor again. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Amy Allen from Dead Files. Man, that I adore her.
Yeah.
She's awesome medium. Drake Stoker, the great nephew of Bram Stoker, the one that wrote Dracula.
Real Dracula. Yep.
Oh yeah, another neighbor. Uh, I had the Josh Gates, Jack Osborne. Yeah, and then who was the other one? The Sasquatch. I don't know. I had so many people over the years, and paranormal things happening in the building. We have chandeliers moving,
Yeah.
and they and there's like they would put on a lot of things. I just wish Michigan had more
Oh,
shows like that.
see, we're out. We're out in Omaha, Nebraska, and there's not a whole lot out here.
No.
I mean, there's. Luckily for Nikki and I, we're finding a lot of the untapped local stuff that people claim have. I mean, we have stuff close to us like Malvern Manor, which is like a half an hour away from us. But we also
Hmm.
like we did the Villisca Axe Murder House, which is like 2.5 hours away from us. So,
Okay.
so we've done some places around here. We've done the McIntyre Villa, which is down in Atchison, Kansas. So there's a couple of them around us. But where we're at, we're just kind of finding the local stuff that nobody outside the locals know about. And
Oh, okay.
kind of what we're starting to investigate is the very small niche areas around here where people just don't know. So, hi, Anita,
Mm-hmm.
how are you? So Anita's saying hi from Manchester, England. So it's great to have you on here. Um, and it's funny because when we go to the smaller places, um, it's almost like they want to talk because no one's been around to talk to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Um, we did the Villisca Axe Murder House, and on the way back, we stopped at a couple of the smaller cemeteries. And
Oh, yeah.
one was extremely old, and
I do like them. Yes.
one was an extremely old one, and one that was newer. But until you went to the very back end of it, and then you still had stuff like the late 1800s in the very back end, and they were
Nice.
they were buried kind of. You had to wipe them off just to see the dates and stuff like that. So that was
Hmm.
that was very cool to go out and check out and record. And there's a couple times when we're listening to it, we think we hear something, but it was very windy that day too, so it could have been a wind. But it just seems like the timing of it was too perfect for you to hear something.
Yeah.
So those are I'm really into investigating the smaller places that we have around here.
Well, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's like, you know, I've done the big groups of paranormal.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
I I would do a lot of paranormal investigations with my husband because he's a spirit photographer.
Mhm.
So I do like the graveyards. When we would go up to, which we do all the time, in Brimley, is there's a, let me see, I'll go back. There's two graveyards I like, but I like graveyards. I actually went to James Dean, we drove to James Dean's tombstone,
Yeah.
and I took a parchment paper with some black, and I did the whole thing, and I got it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't there then. His energy just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And but I do like at that cemetery, like you said, it's Mission Hill Cemetery. It's right by the scenic outlook,
Okay.
and it's just beautiful, right? Like 1800s. I mean, and when we went in there, I noticed that they're with unmarked graves. You know, they're like white, right?
Right.
There's nothing on them, right?
Yep.
A lot of them.
Yep.
So I would go up there with my chalk and just sit there. You know, I'm like, okay. Then I would walk around, and then I would pick up a spirit. I'm like, oh, hey, are you in one of the unmarked markers?
Yeah.
So I would, let's go over there. Show me which one. And then I would write their name on it.
Yeah.
Well, then Tom would capture. All of a sudden, I'm sitting on the ground, that coming out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, sweet. He captured that. I like that.
Yeah.
And then there's. Go ahead.
We got a couple of. I very much like whenever we go to the graveyards, because I'm military and I have very much respect for anything military. I will be sure to say their full name, rank, everything out loud, so
Nice.
they understand that I'm respecting everything about them because they're military. And there was a couple times we have it's kind of like a baby Oculus. It's called Chattergeist, but
Yeah.
it has the Oculus capabilities to it. And we also have recordings. And there's a couple times I'd like read the name out, and you would hear the name come back through either the audio or through the video recorder, and that name would come back. And I'm like,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh, is this so and so? What's your rank? And they would be like, I was a sergeant, or they would just say sergeant, and you're like, oh, yep, that was it. So it's kind of cool that you can get those captures just in that little bit at the cemeteries.
Well, it is. I mean, I think that is, to me, what, like when you go into cemeteries, I always pay homage. I always say a blessing before I go in, a blessing when I go out.
Yep.
But I also leave quarters on the graves, especially with the veterans or children or people I connected with.
Yeah.
I will leave a token, right? And then I actually have some angelic silver tokens that I leave on there, also when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But there was one, like they're same station, same place.
Yeah.
It's gated, but the shipwreck there in that happened there at sea by Lake Superior. The captain went down with the ship, but there were 7 men that were found in the spring, their bodies. So they buried them there at the cemetery. So all of a sudden, I'm coming up to the gated, and I'm seeing, I'm like, this energy ball coming at me. And I'm like, shit, Tom, get it. Holy shit, get it. And I said, it's one of the sailors. And so I started talking to him, and it's like, and it's so rewarding to listen to them, their story, as short or brief or whatever it is. And, it's amazing being spiritual. It really is. And when you connect to spirit like that, and then having a husband that can capture this stuff, so I'm not thinking I'm crazy, is awesome.
Right.
Then there was also another story. I'm all about history. I love history about buildings.
Yep.
That, I mean, I don't want to know the history so much if I'm going in cold. Oh,
Right.
go ahead.
I'm the same. Oh no, I was just waving hi to Bill. Bill popped in to say hi. Bill Slevin popped in to say hi, so I was just waving at him. So
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure that I don't
I was
overstep.
just saying hi to Bill because he was popping in to say hi.
Okay. The next one, not that far away from there, in the North Woods, it's like kitty corner, Mission Hill, next to Sault Ste. Marie. There
Mm-hmm.
was a little girl that got attacked in like July 7th of 1948. Her name is Carol Ann, right?
Oh,
I'll show you
yeah.
a picture of her, right? This is the bear. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
So my husband takes me down this 2-track. I'm like, where are we going? So he always does this shit to me. So we're going down the 2-track, and we came onto the land. And I'm like, oh. And I didn't know the story per se, but the energy, you could still feel like the eurythmic energy, like within that, of like everything's like, I'm feeling like there's a little girl here. And I just said there was a family. I said tragedy, um, terrible, terrible tragedy. And, it's like, and then I could just see her being taken away.
Yeah.
And all I could see was the back end of this bear. And that's all I got in the vision. And then I said, man, that's terrible. Then, Tom told me the story how the father, there used to be a fire tower and the house was underneath it, right? The fire tower back in the day, he would have to climb up the ladder to see if there's any fires.
Right. Yep.
So anyway, I like the history. So then we went on Point Iroquois lighthouse, which is beautiful, beautiful place. And when we went there, that's when I picked up the mom and the daughter at the same time. And it's like, they connected,
Yeah.
afterwards. And it's like, that's amazing. And she's like, the last thing she said to me before she walked away is, we should have never fed that bear.
Oh, yeah.
We should have never fed that bear. Meaning, I
Yeah.
guess at one point they were giving it food.
Giving it food. Yep.
Yep. And then,
Yep. That's why they say don't feed the bears.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then it's like,
Behind
so
it.
that bear came in, I think it was like a little over, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds or somewhere around there. But it's like, they did an autopsy on that bear.
Yeah.
So they confirmed it. They got the bear. So
Yeah.
it's this story about Sault Ste. Marie. That's one of the oldest places, the most haunted in America. One of the top 10 is
Yeah.
Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I get it. I mean, I walked through the town, the tunnels, I could feel them underneath it. I would go on tours, and we went into this one bar, and I got drunk without even having a drink. My husband was like, we sat there, and all of a sudden I started talking, and I was talking to the owner there that in spirit, and it was like, we were having so much fun. But it's like the history.
Yeah.
Let me see. Okay, I got that
Well,
one done.
I want to bring this up, and then I got something else for you. So
Sure.
this is back with Anita. And she states, and she also has a little part at the end of it. I have to read it out because it doesn't fit on the screen. It says, my grandmother always said, don't fear the dead. They can't harm you, but it's the living who will harm, but that isn't always true. My friend worked in a mortuary. The coffin slipped off the top shelf and crushed him. The pathologist said death would have been instantaneous. I still miss him. Are there any thoughts on this? Any thoughts on this, guys? So it's kind of asking, anything about the fact that he was crushed by the coffin. Was it so?
Okay. You're breaking up. I heard some static.
Oh,
Imagine that when you're talking about spirit.
weird, huh? I'm just happy I stayed actually attached this time. Last time it disconnected me when I tried to say something. On another show, I tried doing something. It's like, no, you can't talk about that. It cut me off completely.
Yeah.
But
So the question is that she had is I want to make sure what I heard up to it.
so the coffin slipped off the top shelf and crushed the pathologist.
Okay.
Or crushed the friend that was working at the mortuary. And the pathologist said the death would have been instantaneous.
Okay.
He's just asking, is there any thoughts on this?
Okay. Well, that doesn't surprise me, but it's like her first thing is I'm going to talk about is, yeah, I don't fear the dead. It is the living that I fear also.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some stuff, but I fear the human existence of what the power is behind it. Uh, Now, as far as the coffin coming off the top shelf, the vision I got when I was hearing it is like wrong place, wrong time.
Right.
And it's like, but I felt like it was purposely done to make a point. I felt like there were some conversations with spirit, and it's like, you know what? Boom. I just feel like it was done on purpose. The energy shifted. Um, there was quick. It was quick. And, um, wow. Okay. They're showing me some more stuff. I just felt like maybe that person that got the blunt end of the deal already had some issues on the other side that need to be resolved.
Mm.
Okay, meaning he already had kind of a past of debt or IOU, and something with the spirit connecting with him, and it wasn't paid forward. Is something he said, something he did, and karma came in place.
All right.
Yeah. Now, with karma.
So before you go to that, I want to bring back something else that we were talking about, because we're talking about pretty interesting places, and I want to. There's a place, and I just want to get your vibe off of it really quick.
Sure.
There is a location that Nikki and I are going to investigate this year.
Okay.
So there is a location that is over in Iowa, not too far from us, because we're right on the Iowa-Nebraska border.
Nebraska border. Okay.
Yeah, and it is a marking, basically recognizing a Native American chief who had passed in that area.
A Native American chief. Okay.
So they put up like a memorial remembrance of him that was there.
Okay.
And the Christian, this is back in the that happened to him like in the early to mid 1800s.
Yes.
In the late 1800s, the Christian group that decided to purchase that land decided they were going to go ahead and build a church.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yep.
God. Okay. And planted the church.
So that's something that Nikki and I are about to go, and we're going to try to get out there to investigate this year. And it's not that far from us, but no one really knows the history behind it except for my boss who told me about it.
Okay.
He's lived in this area his entire life. And so he's kind of got some of the background of it, but not too much. But he knows the history and the story behind it. And they always say that stuff in that area seems to go weird. And I'm like, well, no shit. It's going to go weird. Yeah. You know?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm writing. So this is what I got.
On native land. So.
Okay. Now, the church. Okay. The land. I'm drawing a picture here, okay?
Yep.
The land. You need to make sure that when you come to the land, because of who you are and what you are,
yep,
you need to make sure that you have some salt with you for the border, for a border around where the church is. So what you're going to do is they're showing me that. Okay, so I don't think you can see it that well, but it's like, so the church is on the property, right?
Yep.
All right. So then they're okay technically with the church. Okay. Only because it's like around the area is their land. They're not comfortable sometimes how they respect the land. They have a problem with that. They have a problem with them not respecting the land.
Right.
So that's where you're going to come in with your tobacco, right? You're going to come in with your buffalo, quarters, nickels, pennies, whatever you can find.
Yep.
Okay. I need you to make sure that you plant that around the church, right? The buffalo.
Okay.
And the tobacco and the salt is a perimeter of where everything kind of stays within the church boundaries, kind of like this is where you can be. And then they would be fine with that.
Okay.
And the tobacco and stuff like that, just make sure that you can dig a small hole.
Oh yeah.
Okay, like a small shovel or something to dig,
Yep.
a knife, whatever you got.
Yep.
Um, what else do you got?
Yeah.
I just seen a mojo bag of yours, leather
I
bag.
I
It's like,
worked in, so it's the funny thing is, and it's very interesting to talk um, about what I do, some of the stuff I do that people don't know, that haven't seen me before, or don't know me, like you, for instance. A lot of my family on the show knows, but I'm also an elementalist, so I see, hear, talk to, and listen to fire, earth, water, wind elementals like I am you right now. They literally show themselves to me, and we talk back and forth.
yes.
It kind of throws people off when it happens, but it's kind of interesting because that ties into the land very well too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, I I believe in crystals. I think they were given to us for a reason to use, but I am not one that uses them for my protection. But I have the ability to hold them and to charge them and give them out to other people.
Sure.
So I can charge and I can cleanse and I can do all of it just
Good.
myself.
Okay. Far out.
So I have these connections with the earth that I'm very well aware of. Um, and it's very interesting when I go onto lands like this. This is why I'm really interested to walk on this land, because I know that there is an earth elemental waiting for me when I get there, who is
Yes.
going to want to have a discussion with me
On
about.
the left side. On the left side. So if you're facing the church, the elementals, and I feel like in the tree, there's a heavy tree there on the land.
So the funny thing is that on my picture that I drew on the left side,
Oh,
because I have not seen this property.
yeah.
I've only seen it in Google Maps, but I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But when I drew it, I the identification and the remembrance of the war chief is on the left side. So that's literally what I have. I actually have it on my
Yeah.
left side. So
Yep. See? And I know you'll find them. The elementals they're amazing creatures. I love working with them. And it's like, so keep with that connection, but find yourself. I keep on getting buffalo coins, put that at the base of the step going into the house. And, but the land and stuff, everything around it, that's fine. Um, I think you'd have more fun going deeper into the woods, though. If there
oh,
was like, oh yeah,
so
you and I wish you and I lived closer. We would be having a party with these elementals
the,
and
the
talking to everything and within the woods.
oh
And
yeah.
it's like, that's
Well,
my cup of tea. I
it's
do
funny
like that.
because Uilani Kule is on here, and so is Joe Punohu, and I went with them. I actually was lucky enough to go out to Hawaii and meet up with them,
Okay.
and we went to hi Steph, and we went out to. They took me around to some of the jungle areas out there, and they got to experience what it was like with the elementals walking with me, and with them at the same time, and they were like, this is not normal," and I'm like, "This is normal for me." So
Right on. Right on. I
yeah,
love
so it's
that.
kind of interesting. Oh look,
No, it is. And it's like that. And when we connect to Earth, right? And it's like you're connecting to the elementals, the spirits. It's everything. It's everything of nature and everything that is spiritual.
yeah,
And it's like, I'm going to tell you the story. I got so many stories, but that brought me into the field of our backyard in Springport, Michigan, when we lived. That was that was so that I love meeting my elementals and the spirits of the land. And but my husband and I were, working and doing whatever. We're in the backyard, and I happened to like just dusk. This bolt of like big, huge bolt of light out of nowhere comes out, goes about 20 to 30 feet in front of us.
yeah.
And my husband's like, "What the hell?" He's seen it. I said, and I took it in, and then okay, boom, Aztec warriors.
Oh yeah,
There was an army of Aztec warriors. I didn't know anything about Aztec warriors, and they had the black. had
Mhm.
ornaments on. They had the symbols black. They had their tools, the swords, their everything. Well, when it's like they asked me, I said, "What is your message? What is it I can help you with?" All right, and they asked me if I was ready for the spiritual war. I'm like, "What the hell? Sure, okay, I will say yes, because I ain't saying no in front of all you." So it's like, okay, all right. And then I went with my husband and I told him about it. Then recently, okay, we're talking 5 years has passed, right?
Right.
All right. I was introduced to a guy in the paranormal field. He was a demonologist. His name was Brian. And he comes, sits up next to me, and we have this discussion about who he was. And I said, "Oh." And all of a sudden it clicked. Okay, switches on, and all of a sudden he started morphing into his gear, his warrior gear,
Yeah.
right? So then his hand is morphing from a hand to a blue lighted sword.
Mm.
Okay. And it's like I'm looking at his shield, right? I'm seeing his shield. And then I'm seeing freaking Aztec warrior symbols within his shield. So I thought, oh. And I said, "Can you tell me what these symbols mean for you?" Because I wrote them down, what I
Yeah.
saw. And he just said, "Well," he goes, "I'm here to protect humanity. And when I go into these investigations, I'm, kicking butt, and I'm kicking out the evil, the spirits. I'm doing what I do."
Hmm.
And it's like, okay. And I just said, that was amazing. So we become friends to this day.
Yeah.
And then year after year, I kept on meeting more people in different cities that came to me with the same MO, that they were spiritual warriors. And they like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, what does your outfit look like? What is your uniform? And they would describe it. But I believe that the different colors that, from maybe they were like different components of the elements of earth,
Mhm.
sun, water, fire, right? Different ones. And so I'm thinking, okay. And then I met another one up here. No matter where I go, they're following my ass.
Yeah.
So now this other guy showed me some paranormal shots, right? Photos that he had taken. And then I dived into that. Okay. And I'm like, oh. I said, here we go again. I said, "Are you a warrior?" And he says, "I am."
Mm.
And he goes, "Yes, I'm also into the paranormal." And I'm just, okay, I got to connect these brothers,
Yeah.
from a different source, higher source, whatever. So if there's anybody here that listens to this that's also a warrior that needs to connect with me, please do. And I'm just going to connect all you together.
So
We'll just do a Skype or something.
I'm
Maybe I'll come back on your show with everybody.
I'm going to share this with you because this is very intriguing.
Okay.
I had someone on my show probably 2 or 3 shows ago,
Oh, shit. Here we go.
and she was like, "Tom, do you realize that you are one of the warriors that I ran into?" And I said, "Really?" And she said, "I've only met 5 of you so far. You're the fifth one." And she said, "You have a very strong, predestined role that you have to play in this." And she goes, "I think I just need to get all of you together." So, so now you're saying the same thing that the same guest a couple times ago talked to me about exactly
See,
the same thing. So,
I'm telling you, things to harness everything, the power, the timing, the courage,
yep.
with all you badass warriors,
Well,
right?
and so there is someone on the show that's in my audience right now, part of my family, and her name is Joni Mitchell. She
Hello.
she is also known as Joni White Buffalo, and she is my first and only mentor that I've ever had. And she
Nice.
was embarrassed because I always talk about her in this way. But when we first met, she kind of gave me a vision that she saw, and it very much had to do with me being a warrior. and that was 3 years ago. So the moniker has stayed with me for the whole time that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Um, so it's very interesting that every randomly I talk to someone like, hey, do you know what you're supposed to be doing? And I'm like, no. They're like, you're a warrior. And I'm like, oh. Um,
Mhm.
and it's very interesting. Nikki says, my wife says, yes, Kristin, please get all these warriors all together and Tom can do a show. That would be interesting.
Yes, it would.
Um, but it's just been interesting because it seems like lately it's been more people are saying it more
Out
often.
loud.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
when Joni brought it up and she said it to me. It was 3 years ago when I first had my awakening, when I was first learning about my gifts, and she was helping me try to figure out what to do with them and how they ran through me. And
Hmm.
she's like, "You are," and there was some other stuff that she mentioned. Actually, I'm like in one form, I am actually her protector, her personal protector. That's why we were brought together. Um, but then she also talked about the warrior side of it. And it's always stayed with me what she said. It's always stuck with me. I can repeat it back verbatim because it's very
Hmm.
cool. But I think it's interesting that you just now brought that up. After 2-3 weeks ago, I had this exact same conversation with somebody. Um,
Well, that's divine timing. Like,
right?
let me let me tell you about my book, how
Well,
I derived it, right, real quick, because
okay.
I know we're getting up there in time.
And I also have some.
Um,
There's another question for you too. So,
okay, go ahead,
all right.
shoot.
So Anita is saying that some believe. Okay, I'm going to read this as well. Some believe the fairies to be spirits of the dead, while some believe them to be fallen angels. Though the exact provenance of fairies is unknown, the idea of fairy is very dear to the English folklore.
Yes.
Centuries, fairies have been painting the imagination of children and adults alike with their benevolence, notoriety, and magical powers. What are your thoughts?
Okay. I think fairies are little badasses, though. You need to be mindful.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're going to use them in your arsenal, they ask for a lot in return.
Yes.
So you got to be mindful of them.
Yep.
I do know there's truth to all the folklore,
Mhm.
okay, of any and all species, right, that has came here, been here. I know fairies. I believe the sub part, the first part, the second part she mentioned, not so much. Um, Now fairies, I actually had a fairy patch in my, again, backyard, Springport, at a pond. It was like 13 acres. This is wooded, crazy. But I had the fairy patch, and yeah, it was circular in diameter, and the grass was different, and mushrooms were growing by it, whatever. And I just laid there. I always laid everywhere on the earth, if not a tree, the ground. And I just laid there. And it's like, if you allow yourself to mentally connect with the earth, that will show you all kinds of things. Your fairies, your trolls. I mean, everything can come to life again.
Right.
So it's a matter of how much you open up your mind and what you want to believe. It's your belief system,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And it's like, I think fairies to this day, but they are tough. I mean, they can be mean and they can be
Oh yeah.
vicious.
They can be
They'll,
rats.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
What was the other part of the other question that you had?
It was just what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on fairies?
Oh,
Because
I,
because they've been portrayed for centuries in English lore,
yeah,
and they have not just in English lore, but they've been in a lot of other past
yeah,
other locations as well. Which
yeah,
and that's always what intrigues me because we talk about time frames where these were discussions we've identified either through I don't care if it's cave drawings, I don't care what it is, but there's always been stories of things around the world that those people were not traveling to those different parts of the world yet. They didn't have that travel capability, but yet they all have the same stories.
yes.
Um,
And you'll actually see that history in caves and all that.
right,
It's like
exactly.
everything. The stories are the same. The characters
Well,
maybe shifted a little bit. Symbolisms.
and it's the same way, and it's so one of the things that I also realized is we're also seeing it, and this is true. You're a history buff like I am. It also happens with something as simple but as elegant as the pyramids. They're
Yes.
all over the place. And the reason I thought about that is because the Zhang popped back onto here. Um, and the Zhang sent me a link showing an Indonesian pyramid that they're starting to uncover.
Yes.
And they're identifying that the layers that are shown are equal to basically what Egypt was.
Yes.
They've also identified there's probably another 3 layers underneath it, which
Yes.
take it back to about 15,000 years ago, which is
Yes.
twice as long as it was the Egyptian pyramids were. So that's totally rewriting the
The history of it.
the history of humankind. So,
Yes.
so Joni wants me to share this with you.
Okay.
She says you have an uncle slash male family member sitting with you in spirit. He is your guide helper. So she's just letting you know that you have someone sitting with you
Okay.
who's a male figure that is guiding you and is helping you.
I always do.
Yeah, and,
I have
and
so many family members beyond. I had
oh, I do
yeah.
too.
I got a lot of dead people.
And yes, Joni, we had just looked at this too. Egypt just discovered the pyramids have an underground cavern system. They do. They found
Yeah.
the pillars
Yep.
underneath the most recent pyramids that are identifying that it's older than what they say it is, and they don't think it
It
was.
is. The
And,
tunnels are going down miles and miles and
well,
miles,
they
and
found
there's staircases
pillars.
going down.
Right, they found the pillars that the staircase is going down.
Yeah.
They're saying this isn't just a burial tomb so much
No.
anymore. It's a lot of things. So
Yeah.
you know.
If you were going down inside them,
Mm-hmm.
it's like um telepathy, or if you can remote view or put yourself in a space for a minute
Yep.
and to see underneath all that, there's going to be more and more and more revealed. The tunnels
Oh, yeah.
going into different areas, and the different things are going to open up into another thing and another thing. I
Yeah.
just feel like there's so many different um just different areas of what they do. Now, the pillars, I think, help the structure for sure
I
of the
did.
pyramid itself, right? And then by you going into different areas of it, oh, here,
But
I'm going
they're
to share it with you.
yeah, yeah.
That's it,
They're,
right?
they're,
Okay.
they're saying they're 3 stories. They're saying they're about 3 to 5 stories tall. The pillars are that will
Yes.
down into
Let's,
lower levels. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, my husband wanted to share, so he's all about facts. Let me
So
read
my
it.
so my wife is telling me to remote view into that because she knows I can remote view now. So she wants to be remote.
Underground structures underneath the Great Pyramids. Experts are now questioning everything they thought they knew about structures.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if you look at that, okay, aliens, okay, um, way back and everything that created these, right? And it's like, so when you look at it and you know that they were all alien and they were doing things, planting things, making things, it's no different that someday I do see us foraging to another planet in the future, and we're going to be dropping off someone on that planet,
Yeah.
and then seeing, and coming back like the aliens do us, and seeing how we're doing that they planted. um oh, okay.
So
I just see that. I just see us
t-
like doing the same things that they did to us.
today I read just a blurb on it, and I'm going to read more into it because I'm a nerd. Um, but it identified that there was an some form of organic compound found um, by the rover that's on Mars that identified that it's as old as when humankind existed, but it's
Hmm.
organic compound.
Yeah, say I'm telling
So
you.
yeah, yep,
Now about that pyramid real quick.
yeah,
I just feel like there's a lot of either it's a facilitator of power. It's like it had the connection because of the energy and how it's down below. There's something about power connected to that pyramid
well, and
that
that's
was used.
so
Okay.
Joni's saying vibrational energy field work as well as healing vessels, storage, etc.
Okay.
Fruit, berries, offerings to the little people, indigenous teachings, honor them, blessings. So she is also very much attached into the UFO world and the alien world and everything else, uh,
Okay.
which is fantastic. So now I have you here and I have her there, and now I'm watching you both kind of connect here. And it's interesting for me to sit in the middle of this energy right here.
Yes,
Um,
you're smack dab in the middle. Sorry.
and and I don't know if
I'm
I don't
not
know if
sorry.
anyone recognized it, but it's funny because when Joni came on the show and I recognized Joni was on the show, I felt my energy lift.
Yeah.
I felt the vibration jump up a hitch because it's Joni.
Yeah.
Um, she just has that effect for me, and I think it's because she is my first and only mentor. And
Oh.
I think it's funny that she gets embarrassed because I say that, which is hilarious to me. But I just had a connection with Joni from the very beginning. So now
Mm-hmm.
with you talking about it on one side and her basically doing it on the other side, and I'm smack dab in the middle of this, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I have to kind of like start pushing some of it away, saying, okay, that's too much energy. I'm going to start giving other people headaches if I keep pushing forward like this. So
Yay! Well, the secret, the secret, and now in the time that we're living in, you have to ramp your energy up.
that's
You
way up.
have to sustain your energy at a higher frequency always. You
A lot of
do.
a lot of the problems that I run into though is when I expand my energy out and I push
Wah, 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 wah.
it interferes with other people's abilities. Mine overwhelms them, and they end up like either not being able to focus or
Aw.
it gives them headaches. And they told me that they're like, "Oh my goodness, can you tone it down a little bit?" So I'm like, "Sorry."
Yeah, I got you. You're okay with me.
Yeah.
I got you. I get that. I mean, your presence is known when you walk in a room,
Thank you. Yeah,
right?
it is.
Your
So
energy forecasts you, and then when I come in the room, they're either going to really like me or they're going to really hate me,
yep, yep.
and I'm okay with that. Yeah. Now, let me see here. I want to make sure I got to come up with a book real quick, only because it involves back in 2023.
Okay.
I woke up in the night, had this vision. My guides were like, boom, you're going to write your damn book. And they showed me the cover of the book. And I'm like, okay, cool, let's do this. Um, and then I'm like, all right. So the next day, I was searching online for a book that I could just like write in and just fill it in. I don't know what I was doing, but I'm always doing what I'm fucking told. So I just went ahead and then I found this book. It's pretty cool. All right.
Oh, very cool.
This very cool book. So in this book, okay, I took it with me to an event that happened in January 1st. We did an event and I met, God, I like cruising around meeting people. But there was this witch. She had an apothecary beyond an apothecary. And I'm like, I got to give me something for this book. I need inspiration. I said, but this witch has got some shit. I'm going to go tap in to see what she has. So I'm going through her stuff. I'm like, yep, got that, got that, got that. Nope, nope. And then I picked up a couple of coffin nails. Why not?
Yeah, why
And
not?
then I'm like, okay. So then I picked up some other stuff, and yeah. And then my guides showed me, oh, some bones in my mind, right?
Right.
And then I'm like, and then writing, and then I'm like, oh, I said, do you have chalk that has bones in it? And she's like, what makes you think I have that? And I said, I'm a medium. I said, I know you got the bones in the chalk. I said, can I can I see it? And she's like, she looked at her husband. The husband looked at her and he's like, go ahead. so I grabbed I grabbed the chalk, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I need this to write stuff in my book, right? But I thought, oh shit. And I again stopped again in my tracks, had the vision of ghost riders by the thousands going to the west,
Yeah.
ramping, riding horses. And then one stops and looks at me. He says, you need a rite of passage. You can't go any further till you get the rite of passage. I said, no problem. This witch is going to do me a sigil and she's going to write it in this damn book. And then it took off. So I'm thinking, okay, that's a start. I have permission. I'm going to do this. So what I did, oh my gosh, Kristin. I'm always doing something. I came up with a sigil, and it's a psyche pump. I did a bigger picture.
Okay.
So this psyche pump is a rite of passage on the other side.
Okay.
So I created it. It's like to guide when the soul leaves the body. You have a right to go to the left to get reincarnated, or you can go to the right and go home. So during that travel, you know, there's so many things that can capture you in between that point and that point,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yep.
So this gives you safe haven to get where you got to go.
Yep.
So this was my token of death. So if a person needs a ride to the other side of safe harbor, you put this in their casket.
Okay.
Or you keep it for yourself, but it does have a magnet on it. So they can put it on their refrigerator. They can keep it wherever. So what I did is what I'm doing is I'm creating and typing up these little synopsis. So I met this paranormal investigator. I'll tell you, it's just real cool. A direct connection with spirit, August 26th of 23. The spirit was named K-Hop. And it's like K-Hop Haven, the spirit. Her grandson Randall came to me with an understanding that he had a hard time in the last 10 years and could not connect with spirit as a paranormal investigator. So I began the discussion with Kay, who came over, and who has, oh my God, she came through the spiritual veil with a shield. Here we go with that damn shield again. Of protection and armor. She had that on her. And to use it on the paranormal journey for him. So it was a gift from her to him. So Kay, his grandmother, is a spiritual badass. I'm telling you. I must say, I asked Randall to close his eyes, then to use his mind and to see her. Just hold space to vision her. I held his hands and directed the energy to him to feel the grandmother, and the direct connect began, and it was established. He's seen her arsenal of tools. He's seen it. He's seen the scepter with the white light and the shield across to show him the way. The armor was designed for him by her. This was the first time of understanding how to connect the energy in her. It was a little bit longer than that, but that was the significance of it. And then I just said, well, Randall left with assurance and faith and how to connect with spirit. And I said, happy hunting, Randall. Happy hunting. And it's like, these are the stories that I type up and write in the book. Yeah. And then, I just have people write down every time I connect with spirit. Yeah. So I'll use my stories and I put everything in there. I'll dedicate it to my sons. The book. And but that story of meeting that witch was something else. That was amazing. Let me see if I got the back of it still. Yes. That was her engraving that she put in the back.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I just like to give you validation. I like giving people a perspective. Like, there's so many different type of people that are not people, but they are creatures, and we all, I believe, like coming to Earth and all that stuff. I believe we're the aliens. I really do. I can say, hey, look in the mirror, and you're the alien. And it's like, why do you think we get sick and we die quicker if we don't have inoculations? It's like our type is just cannot take it. Our skin can't take it. The sun.
Right.
There's so many clues and stuff. Do you have a question before we get going? I'm almost done. I think I'm almost done.
Yeah.
I got a lot. I was just like, I could keep on talking and talking. But I wanted to ask you your questions real quick before we go. How far are we into it?
Oh, we're at an hour 44. So.
Oh shit.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we already talked about that. When it comes to the paranormal investigations in buildings or outside in the woods, where cemeteries have been. What is your best investigation?
Um, so mine, oh man. So my best investigation was a an investigation where things went wrong. And I had to learn something about myself very, very fast. And I identified that I've had these abilities for a very long time. Um, we were on an investigation at an undisclosed location, which I will not talk about. We actually got rid of all the videos and audios and everything else of it. But
Okay.
one of my mediums that was on, I was part of their team. She was not supposed to go under, and she got jumped. Um, and she went black eyed, and she cussed, and she refused to hold on to any religious emblems at all or anything else. And at one point, she turned around and she was talking to people. And I've always been warned. Joni's the first one to tell me that my abilities are very, very strong. So the lesser stuff won't bother me, but the stronger ones will want to test my mettle.
All
That's
day
very
long.
interesting when you learn that when you're learning something new in the first place. But the thing that was inside of our friend said, "I want you," and they were looking at the other direction, and that person at that side said, "Do you mean me?" And she turned and looked dead at me, and she goes, "No, you." And I went, "Let's dance." So, me not knowing any better, because I'm too dumb to know any better, is what I tell people. I grabbed a hold of her and I let it come into me, and
See?
I trapped it at my arm. I would not let it go past my shoulder, so I had it in my hand. And then they took her outside, and she got sick. And then I went outside and I put my hand in the ground and I pushed it into the ground. No idea how I knew how to do that at all, but
It's natural. Yeah.
instinctively, it happened. She got sick. She puked up the black bile. She was down and out. And
Mm.
then my other one of my other that I absolutely adore this ability of mine came to fruition that she had to use. I call it the John Coffey effect. If you've ever watched Green Mile, when he can touch somebody and take that whatever it is and release it into
Never.
nothingness,
Yep.
I can do that. I grabbed a hold of her and I held on to her, and I always feel what's happening. I can always tell when I'm taking something from somebody, and I'm taking it
Mm-hmm.
from her.
Yes.
And then when I let go, it just because I wear a golden armor skin tight on me because I want whatever it is
See?
close to me
What is up with these skin tight armors? You
because,
guys always pick the skin tight armor.
because I want it to come as close to me as possible.
Yes.
But
That's what they say.
I know it can't harm me. And mine is literally a golden, and it looks like a dragon scaled armor, so I know it's impenetrable. So when I took whatever it was from her, it attached to
Mm-hmm.
my armor. I let her
Yep.
go, and it dissipated like it was nothing.
Yes.
And she even said, "What did you just do to me? I have all this energy, and I feel great." And I'm like,
Excellent.
"I took away what you did not need, and I got rid of it,
Yes.
and I gave you back what you needed." Um,
Wonderful.
so that was
Well,
my favorite.
I've come across the same person as you, though. I know a golden one. You guys would be badass together. Oh my God. I know that, and he lives in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
So that would be an amazing connection.
which is funny because I'm going to Vegas in 3 weeks. So
I'm gonna call him up. He actually dipped in tonight and came down on my screen
oh
as
yeah.
we were talking.
So I don't know what happened to my chats, but my chats have disappeared.
I seen
Um,
that something
yeah,
blipped.
yep, something blipped. So I don't know if my chats are working or not. It shows me new comments will display here, but it's been
Okay,
saying, and I haven't seen anyone type in since. Um,
okay.
that's been a little while. So I don't know if people just haven't been chatting and I'm just not receiving them now. But during that time frame, it did tell me I was. Nikki just tapped in and she said, "I felt this ability myself where he hugged me and took away my sorrow one time." She was overstraught. She was very sad because she's a math teacher and one of her students passed away, and she couldn't
Mm,
stop crying. And she's always joked about, well, all these other people have experienced this hug, but I never have. And she had a
that's
student,
okay.
yeah, and I said, well, you've never needed it.
Yeah,
Well,
there you go.
now she
What's
did.
the point?
And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, come here. And I give her a hug. And afterwards, she was like, what did you do to me? I can't cry.
Well, that's a direct connection.
Right.
It's like when your body and you made a contract, she's part of it.
Yep.
To come in this life and you connected, and now spiritually,
Yep.
you are who you are.
Yeah.
So that in itself shows how everything's lined up for a purpose.
Yeah.
Now, my next question is, what type of question, like when you go on investigations or something like that, I hear some stupid things. Can you rap on the wall for me? You
Here.
know what I mean? Or, I just stupid things. If you
Yep.
had your way
Yep.
and your investigation, what would you be saying?
So the cool part for me is when spirit talks to me, you know how some mediums, they get pictures or they get symbols and they have to try to interpret them.
Mental medium,
I
yes.
don't. They literally tell me exactly what if they're talking to me,
Yeah.
they're telling me word for word what I'm supposed to be saying. I'm not channeling them like you do, but
No, they
they're
just come
telling me
in.
directly, and they're like, "Look, I
Yes.
know that you can hear me, and this is what I want you to tell a dumbass over there who doesn't believe that they can see me, or that I'm actually the one flipping on the light switches and everything else." When I go on investigations, all I'm really looking for is clarity in what the truth is. Because in fact, I'll give you one example. We had a case, we went to another undisclosed location, and the story was there was this mad lady that was running around, and she had blood all over her white gown and all down her face, and she was a crazy lady swinging her arms, and her hair was wild. We came to identify the fact, and I saw her, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
She was not wild. It wasn't blood. She was a little girl who was deaf and couldn't speak.
Mm-hmm.
Her hand motion was a form of sign language. She learned to talk with an orderly that used to protect her and bring her candy. It was chocolate that was down her white dress. It was not blood, and it was not crazy hand signals. It was her sign language.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to interpret it because she trusted me because I resembled the orderly. So she would let me come into her room and talk to her, and I can see her, and I
Nice.
talked to her, and I understood her language, and she understood mine instantly.
Well, you
So
know what's cool? I know sign language.
I know a little bit, but theirs was not the typical ASL. It was one they created because she didn't know sign language, so they kind of
Hmm.
had their own language between them. But I was able to understand it, and she was able to understand me. But
Yeah, I
so
mean that's what it's all about. Is
yeah,
when you decipher things, spirit makes it easy. Even if it's an unknown language,
right,
they make it so you know it, hear
right,
it, and understand it in
yep,
your language.
yes,
Yeah,
and I used to always wonder why would people ask closed-ended or open-ended questions that spirit possibly couldn't answer. Like a lot of people give yes or nos. And I understand that because it's very easy to understand a yes, one knock for yes, two knocks for no,
yeah,
whatever. Um, but if I have these recording devices and I have me, which I trust more than anything else, and I have all these other abilities for other people to use that don't have my abilities, why
yes,
not ask, what's your name? Why not ask, can you tell me some of your story? Rather than knock for this, because who cares?
yeah.
If they're not,
Exactly.
so
And I just get
I know
I get
the story.
frustrated, and it's like, with newbies or someone that just doesn't have a spiritual gift. And
Yeah,
that's why I want to go into an investigation first
yeah,
before anybody else,
yeah.
because I don't want the energy wonky with them.
You
So
don't,
I just go through it first,
yeah,
get what I need out of it, and then I'll come back with a team.
yeah.
And it's like that's important. Now it's like, as a gifted person, right? And I was like, how's it helped you pursuit of the supernatural? It's like, and you just explained it.
Yeah, I mean but for me, it's more than that. I'm really trying to identify. Like right now, I do investigations when I can. I work with other teams because I like seeing how they work,
Hmm.
and I run a show online to give a platform for people to talk. and to talk
Yes.
about their abilities, which I think is very important because not everyone will know who these other people are unless I bring them on. It's just a platform. And I do a lot of the local talent around here too. When we go to
Hmm.
the Holistic Fest and the Mystic Fest and stuff like that, it gives them a platform to talk to. But for me, I think it's just right now, it's the beginning of what I'm supposed to be doing. I
Yes.
think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Um,
If
Overall,
you could, well, it is. I mean, if you could go anywhere in the world to investigate
right.
or experience, where would you go?
Oh,
Knowing what you know now, knowing what you know, where would you want to go?
that's a good one because we talked earlier that I do not understand the word fear except that it's a four-letter word.
Yeah.
Um, so I would really be tempted to go to the places that a lot of people run from because I just don't know any better, and I want to experience it because I won't experience it as a fear. I will experience it as an experience. Um,
Where would that be?
I don't know. I really would
If you had to pick northeast, south, or west, what direction would you go into?
I would really, I would really probably roam a lot of Ireland and a lot of like the European, like Bulgaria,
Okay.
the Vlad the Impaler locations, the ones where the 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 mythical lore about it is so grand that
Yes.
it's just irresistible to learn if it's just mythical lore or if there's
Sure.
actually a strength behind it.
Well, I would be going like anywhere like England, Scotland,
Yep.
um, Transylvania.
Yep.
I would go to
I would go to
Transylvania.
Pennsylvania. I've been to
Yeah.
Pennsylvania before, but before I had the abilities. I've been to a lot of the places. So I went to 48 different countries in 8 years when I was military.
Jeez.
So I've been to a lot of places, but it was before I knew I had these abilities, which is frustrating.
Okay. Well, in the future, because I know that the paranormal has changed. I
Yes.
mean, everything has changed.
Yep.
Um, what would you like to see happen in the paranormal?
Um,
That's another good question, huh?
it is. Um, unfortunately, so there's a couple of things on this. Um,
Okay. Oh, that was a deep breath.
because it frustrates me because I am lucky enough to be naive enough that I'm not well known enough to be put into all the drama that people are putting against each other. And I hate the fact that people think that it's their way or no way, or I'm the expert, so you have to listen to me. Bullshit.
Yeah.
You have zero better capabilities than I do
Yeah.
because none of us are capturing shit that we can say is the absolute God honest truth.
Yeah.
We're just
Well,
capturing a
I exactly. I
so,
know that, I pulled up a stat real quick about the world as far as what we're like over 8 billion people in the world on Earth. And I asked the
yeah.
question, how many people right now believe in the paranormal? It came up under artificial intelligence said 1.6 billion people
Yeah.
believe in the parapsychology, the
Mhm.
powers. And I mean, I know there's got to be more than that because people aren't, this was an older study and
So
the data,
this is why, and this is what I know. But
yeah,
this is not guessing. This is what I know, which is exactly why I built my show. People are afraid to talk
yes,
about it. So I literally built my show and decided around if you have paranormal gifts, you think you have paranormal gifts, you're interested in the paranormal, you just want to learn more about it, but you don't want to be judged. Here's my platform I'm about to put out. So all of
yeah,
us can come together and start to learn from and everything else. And that's what's been happening in my community. Luckily for me, I started out separating from a show that, or from a site that wanted to put me on their show. And I said, no, I want to run on my own because otherwise I would have already been an hour over my time and I wouldn't be able to do this. So I'm lucky enough now to have about 800 followers, which is more than I've ever thought I'd have. And I'm hoping to keep growing it because I think
hmm
this show is such a learning community. So many people have learned so much from what you have said today that they would have never known before had they not have come on the show to meet you. That this
Right
is
on.
designed to be an educational show, which is why the name is called Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook.
Yes.
It's
Well,
fun, it's exciting, it's interesting to learn, but you're always going to learn something. So
I'm hoping, as much as everything's transcended,
yeah,
and everything with the veil, the opening, everything, aliens.
yep,
Come on, now is the time.
and that's
People are dying of the old belief
right.
system. That's no longer serving. So eventually, it's like Tom. It's like it's going to be all
Well,
open.
and
So
that's why you'll notice the morphing of my show from 3 years ago to now. It's not just paranormal. It's paranormal. It's cryptid. It's UFO. It's
yeah,
it's quantum healing. It is time travel. It is parallel and multiple universes. It is
yes,
so much that it has grown into that I have even started to learn from, and I'm introducing more and more and more people so much
yeah.
because everybody has a right to have a voice, and
Amen.
it does
Right.
not matter how obscure they think it is. It may be obscure now, but 3 years down the road, it's going to be the norm because we just don't know about it yet, or it just hasn't been introduced to us yet.
Well, I believe that a lot of people know. I do because of the ascension levels, right? But
Yep.
I also know that they don't understand what they know because it hasn't been forthcoming yet.
Right. Yeah.
So again, there's that timeline shift of things opening up within a certain time, a certain place, and
Right.
it's meant to be,
Right.
right? So as far as everything that your show is everything that I believe in.
Yeah.
And I
Yay.
believe that this is the longest podcast show intermingling with you. I know that I have been on some amazing investigations and all over the place. I have done so much with my time, and all I can say is I'm not done with humanity.
Right. Yep.
I'm not.
So
I
you
I'm not.
you can't go yet because someone has a question for you.
Sure.
Michelle Shelley Houghton has a question for you.
Hi,
And it's
Michelle.
funny because it's going to be the same question that Nikki would have. I am working on trying to develop my skills. Tom and Kristin, how did you discover your main skill? So I can answer this first if you want me
Go
to.
ahead. I already know mine, but go ahead for it.
Michelle, I do not have a main skill. Um, I am a developing and practicing intuitive because I have so many different abilities that I keep learning about.
Yes.
Um, People will ask me, and all of a sudden I'll have a new ability. And I've asked the question to numerous people: will I ever have one skill, like my mediumship or my psychic ability or my whatever, be higher than the rest? And I'm just going to call myself an elementalist. And they every single time they've said no. When your powers and your abilities and your gifts grow, they will grow together
Yes.
all at once. And so they said the fact that I call myself an intuitive, a practicing intuitive, a learning intuitive, is
Yes.
perfect for me because that is exactly how I am built. Nothing for me is going to outshine another because I love it all so much. They're all going to grow, and that's just who I'm going to be. That may very well be how your abilities develop. You may not have one that outshines another, but there may be one that you want to practice more than the
Yes.
others, and that's what you're going to end up probably identifying yourself as.
Correct.
That's my answer.
That is fine. That's perfect, and I believe that as you like you said, like when you open up one, you're leveling up, and then all of a sudden you do this and you do that, and all of a sudden more shit's being downloaded
Right.
at the same time, right? So then you're like, okay, here we go again, and then all of a sudden you're doing more and more, and
Yep.
your powers are getting stronger, your knowledge is getting stronger, and then oh no. And then you just rocket to another level and you're swinging back and
Yeah.
forth and this branch and you're just climbing up higher and higher,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then your powers are going to match your ascension,
Right.
right? They're
Right.
going to match it. And then you're going to find like minded
Mm-hmm.
that connect, the direct connect. And then we encourage each other. We give each other more power. And then we give in, you know, we then we enhance it, then we do other things together, then we incorporate things, and then all of a sudden something new happens
Right.
because we just manifested it.
Well, and
Or
it's
we,
and it's funny because I found out the way that I've learned some of my abilities is someone just simply asked. I finished a show with somebody and they asked me, "Can you see auras?" As soon as they asked me, my spirit guide said, "Well, yep, watch." And I was able to see their auras. And I was like, "Yes, I can." And they both asked me, "Well, what are my auras?" And I read them to them both. And they're like, "Holy crap." And I was like,
mm-hmm.
they're like, "How long have you been able to read auras?" And I go, "Since you asked the question."
Yes.
I was like, "What do you mean since I've asked the question? That was 10 seconds ago." And I'm like, "Well, that's how long I've been able to do it." So
Yeah. Well, that does happen like that
it
because
does.
it's like you're tapped into everything you need to know.
Yep.
It's like a computer already within your mind.
Yeah.
All right, that knowledge, everything is just coming to you all consecutively.
Yeah.
So it's what you're mirroring, what you're wanting, and the people that you're engaging with, right? No matter what they say, and the idea comes in your head like that.
Yeah.
So it's like between everybody that's your tribe, that your guides, your soul, everything is connected. Everything, your development, your knowledge, your yearning, the things that you want to carve out, just simply carve out. When you're going down the right road, opportunities happen, people happen, everything comes within, everything's in sync as
Yeah.
it should be. But remember, as much high as high you can go on the platform, always remember time to take that time out to
Right.
heal,
Yep.
because it's like doing the job that we are doing for humanity will kick our ass eventually.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and it has for me because I've been doing it a long time. So now I'm just like, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
I'm chilling. And then all of a sudden I meet you, and then you're just bringing me back out again.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling the same likeness,
And see,
and we connect.
and Nikki mentioned the same thing I told you earlier. I feel like Tom is a chameleon, a mimic or something. Once he is asked about or around an ability, he then seems to have it.
Okay.
So that's just kind of how it happens. So, but yeah, I mean, I think we're drawn together. Like there is no other reason because I had a list of dates that I gave you to come onto my show, and this is the date that we picked for a reason. So it was supposed to happen at this time. The people who came into, there were a handful of people that showed up in my audience that I haven't seen for quite some time, but all of a sudden they popped into our show. So, so there's things that are happening that's supposed to happen. Um,
Yes.
so yes. So
I agree. I haven't talked to that guy in Las Vegas. Been a hot minute, and all of a sudden, boom, we're talking about the Warriors, and whoop, there he is. I
yeah,
mean, it's it's definitely in sync. These,
yeah,
with everything and timing, and I think that's so badass. And I love everything about what we do,
yeah,
and I'm never gonna stop. I've
yeah,
seen a lot of people in my years just fall to the wayside.
yeah.
It is not for the weak.
No, it is not.
It is, there's sacrifice.
Yeah,
There's so much that you do give up.
yeah, yeah,
There is.
yeah.
And
But I'm
but
gonna.
I think that's good. I believe that, people want to get a hold of me.
Yep,
It's
yep.
KristinRobertsMedium.com.
Everything's down on the bottom, folks. It's all been scrolled
Oh,
the
okay.
entire show.
Oh,
It's been
okay.
on the entire show, so it's been scrolling for 2 hours and 9 minutes. So, so with that said, I think it's a
Okay.
great time to close down the show.
Yes.
But I am going to ask you to come on again because I've already had other people in my audience ask for you to come back.
As a collective, yes.
So yes, so just so you're aware, other people are asking you to come back to my show to share more of your information and share
Right on.
more of your stories and everything else. So
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm surprised when I reach out to you. I normally do about 8 to 9 months because I get on new people, and then I also bring in a smattering of the return as well. And then I've also started doing something very interesting, which is I've been doing it in the past, but I'm going to do it more. It's called Open Mic Night, and it's literally where it's just me and people get to ask questions.
Okay.
And that's been interesting to see how that's developed because it seems like a lot of people like open mic night. Um,
Hmm.
but yes, I will definitely. We'll be in touch
Of
before
course. And
before
I thank you so much for
we be in touch
hanging out
before we
and
get back onto the show.
enjoyed your energy,
I
enjoyed the
appreciate it.
show.
Thank you very much. So remember, this is your show. You use it however you want it. I don't care.
Okay.
You were on it. I was just simply the host of the show. I don't copyright anything. That belongs to you.
All
Um,
right.
but other than that, have a great night. Thank you very much.
You too.
I'll shut these guys down and let them know what's coming up in the future. I don't even know if I have a show next week. That's how
All
bad.
right.
I have to look it up all the time. But
All right.
but go tell your husband with the fantastic name. Thank you very much as well.
All
Um,
right. Well,
and,
blessings, my friend. Love and light.
yeah, much love, and we will talk again soon.
All righty. Bye bye.
Bye bye. All right, folks, that's the show. Let me throw my stuff back up there really quick so you can see where my stuff is. What is today? Today's the 24th. I do have a show next week. Oh, interesting. I have on Maxim Furyk next week, and this is going to be more along the lines of alien UFO type of show. That's what he does. So the next show is going to be more along those lines. It is going to be next week, the 31st. So I will not have a week off beforehand. It's just going to be what it is. But other than that, have a great week. I'm happy you stayed with me for the whole show because it was a long one. I appreciate everything you guys do. Do me a favor, like, follow, share, so we can keep growing the family, the community, and we will move forward from there. Other than that, have a